Hi.
Hey,
Hey.
When I see your
there's not a thing that I would change because I'm amazing just the way I am. You already know. You already know. You see my smile?
whole world stops and stares for a while.
Because I'm amazing just the way I am. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, the amazing Tei Street. Now, you all know that every week I like to show what coffee mug I'm using. This one is actually by one of the vendors that I'm going to be giving away a gift tonight. Um, it says, Our history is 365 days reality check. I like this mug for Black History Month, but my history is not a month. My history would take so much time that a year couldn't hold it all. So, welcome to Coffee with Tea. I don't know if you're tuning in. Most folks know unless you tell me. I don't know if you're in on YouTube or not. I can usually see that you're in on Facebook. So, tonight we're going to have a really robust discussion about health, prioritizing your health. I'm super excited about this topic tonight because you all know that I'm usually transparent. That's one of the things I don't always do. I make time for people, I make time for work, time for things. I don't always prioritize my own health. And as a result of that, there can be some complications when we don't put our health at the top or close to the top of our things and list of things to do. So tonight I have with me my special guest, public health expert Brandon Chapman. I'm super excited to have Brandon on because he's on a roll this week. He's doing lots of presentations on the importance of prioritizing your health. And so most people who know, but in case you don't, Brandon is one of my mentees, and I'm always excited. He's been chomping at the bit to get on because he is passionate about public health. He is passionate about making sure that our communities are healthy. And I've watched him, you know, literally take control of his own health over the last year. And I looked at him on a picture the other day and was like, oh, that weight he lost, he looked good. I see you, Brandon. So if you would, welcome Brandon to Coffee with Tea.
Thank you. And I'm sorry that I did not have my coffee today. And because what we will talk about later on in the presentation is when we stop drinking caffeine to improve our sleep. And so recommended about 3 o'clock. So I have some tea here to drink with you, but no caffeine because I'll be up all night long, um, watching TV and not being able to focus tomorrow. So, but
So just
yeah.
so you know, lots of folks come on the show. Just so you know, lots of people come on the show with their tea. Last week, Dr. Maria came on and she acknowledged that she had her tea. You can drink whatever you want to because we all grown.
I'm drinking water today.
All right, I see you with your water, with your colored water. All right, so we're gonna get started tonight. I want to ask, and if you all have questions, by all means, put them in the chat. I'm going to, for the purposes of all of this, I'm going to put the link in the chat um on Facebook and also the chat on, and I've already put it in the chat on YouTube. If you want to be entered to win one of the three prizes we're going to give away, one of the Valentine's prizes we're going to give away tonight, by all means, go on and fill out the jot form. And at the end of the show, I will announce the three winners and we'll be excited and I will tell you how I can get them to you. So, but I want to jump right in tonight and say how excited I am. Brandon, why do you think a show on prioritizing your health and wellness is important for me to cover on Coffee with Tea?
So over these past, what is it, almost now 5, 6 weeks that you have been really focusing on renewing our mind, our bodies, and our souls. And so now that we went through the whole month when we were talking about that, our minds, our bodies, and souls, we need to now think about how are we going to prioritize that. And so this is the beginning of the year, and so I know everybody has probably said, "I'm going to go back to the gym and I'm going to eat better." And so with that, those are large goals, and so tonight we really want to talk about small incremental things that we can do just to chomp away at those goals, so we can be so that we can feel better. And so that's with your mind, your body, your soul. Even if it's going to get that $10 Planet Fitness membership, yay for you. If it is going just to doing something, that committing to doing that 30-minute movement and exercise in your day, because what I really have realized in this past year, and what let me say, since November, is that I cannot continue to give everything to everybody, and not give something to myself. And at the young age of 40, my body was saying no. That I went to the doctor and the numbers just was not looking right, and so I decided to take charge of my health and decided to not always to take certain meetings at certain times of the day, that it was just my time to work out or to walk or to get some movement around. And so I just really want to encourage everybody today to make your health your priority. You have to always vote for you.
I like that you have to always vote for you. When you're casting votes on how you're going to spend your day, and you say, I'll put a vote over here and a vote over there, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I like that vote piece, Brenda. I'm hold
Yeah.
on to that. Why do you think health and wellness is so often so far down on our list of priorities?
When I was doing research on this, it is a lot of times that we get so busy, and then we think about what exercise looks like, and then we get really bored. And so some people's like, oh, I don't want to walk on the treadmill all the time, or I just don't, I don't like lifting weights. And so the key of it is just really finding the things that are interested into you. So one of the things is that if you're a person that likes to be around people, start a walking club. If you're back in the office at work and you have an hour lunch break, then let's say, the beginning of that hour, we're going to go ahead and eat. And then the better half of the hour, for 30 minutes, we're just going to walk and we're just going to really talk. Or if you're a person like me that loves a good happy hour, replace that happy hour with walking. Or I always tell people today on a previous conversation is really look at some of the free things or the lower cost things that are available to you. So if you live in the Columbus area or if you live in the surrounding states, look at what your local recreation centers have, and they have a myriad of things that you can get involved in. Whether that's line dancing or whether that's swimming. Keep moving it and changing it up. And so sometimes the reason why we don't make it our priority because it bores us. It's just something that we just do not like to do over and over. And then we always ask ourselves, where do we have time to do that? And so that's where the priority comes in, because when you make the priority to do it, you'll put in that snippet of things that you like to do. So one of the things that I that keeps me going is that there's a group at my local YMCA of what I call them elders. These women are really 70 and older, and every day at 6 o'clock they are there lifting weights, treadmills, talking about everything and everybody. And if I don't make it in there for a little 2 days out that week, I'm going to get a call from one of those ladies. Hey, you okay? Everything is okay. And if I decide to go in the evening, there's always a group of women there that comes from working and being together all day long, but they're committed to that fitness. And so when I thought about the topic for tonight, they make their fitness priority, and they're all older than me. They carve it out. They're very busy women. I see them in the community, but I know that at 4 o'clock that they're going to be at the gym, and they're all going to trickle in. They all may talk at the treadmill and talk about the day, but they're hitting it. They're hitting it, and they're just always a motivation to me. And so making that the priority, and figuring out the time where you can get that balance in is very essential.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you were talking about making it a priority. And I love the word making. My friend Tamara Hartley, people always say, I gotta find time. She said, you don't find time, you make time. Time is not something you can find. Time is something that you can make, because we all get the same 24 hours in a day. It's what you choose to make out of those 20. So I appreciated you using that word, that you have to make the time to do the things that are important. I love the notion that you talked about walking. Give me some other tips. You said you were going to give me some practical things to do. Suppose I got an arthritic knee and I can't walk like everybody else. What other kinds of things can we do to really prioritize? Because it's certainly health is more than just, the physical fitness side. It's an important side, but there's more to our health. Give me some other tips.
So as we're looking at exercise is one of the things, and so I'm trying to get that 30 minutes in a day of some type of movement, and so that is really utilizing all the tools that we have to us. So a lot of us have Fitbits or we have reminders on our phones. There are apps that you can download that can just say move. Or get up to move, or get up to breathe. And I found that it must be something that when my heart rate goes up or my pulse goes up, I'm looking at my watch and it says breathe. And it's at that moment what I've learned to stop, to center myself because I am stressed out about something. What I learned on my health journey was that the way that I eat was so important, because I'm always on the go, 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 go. And so I learned that the at home chefs or the blue apron meals were really a key for me to be able to eat healthy. I love to cook and I can cook. But it was very easy for me to cook up some of those meals on a Sunday. And so when I'm at work and I'm going in between meetings, or I'm at home and I'm going in between meetings, I can pop that into the refrigerator. And then I don't have to get all of the whole 5 weeks, 5 days. I can cater them down to at least three. And so I have three meals there. And if you're on the call and you have any type of dietary needs, there are great programs to say, hey, I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, I'm pescatarian. They're all catered toward you. And the other thing that you can do is get as much as water into your system for that. So you see here, I have this gallon here, and it is halfway through the day. But this is what I start off with every day: a gallon of water. I try to make sure that I get one of those big water jugs from Five Below that has the different times on there. And for every 2 hours, it just reminds you to drink. And it has a little motivational piece on there. You got it. Keep going. As long as you do that, that is just the small things that you can do. Reducing sugar, caffeine intake. Stay away from the McDonald's. And it's so easy to do that. And so your body will tell you. I told someone today, it will tell you when you're not eating well. And it will tell you about 2:30 to 3 o'clock, when you get those cravings, when you're getting tired, when you want to go for that snack drawer. I am a reformed fat boy, so I had a snack drawer because I got sick and tired of giving the vending machine my money. And so I would go get my snacks, and at 2, 3 o'clock, I would get that tired and I would get that fatigue. But that was my body telling me, you're not eating right. You're not eating the right foods. And so I made a very conscious decision to make sure that I ate lean meats and salads and good carbohydrates to take you throughout the day. And then finding exercise that is really aligned with your personality, that keeps you interested. And so for some, that may be line dancing. For some, that may experience arthritis, that may be going to a water aerobics class. And a lot of people, they love water aerobics class. I love a good spin class. It really keeps me going. Line dancing is really good for some people who just love to dance, and they
Mhm.
love the camaraderie of it. But just getting around and moving, and finding that something newness. Yoga is something that I would love to explore. And T had someone on 2 years ago that did that yoga with us, or that meditation with us, and that was really a spiritual experience. I think that she and her son and myself, we talked about. We don't know why we cried, but we felt so centered afterwards, and it might have been everything that was going on in the world. But so that is something that I'm committing to, trying out, and learning how to do. So just really changing it up, having those small incremental things, setting goals at the beginning of the week, and say this week I'm only going to have maybe one soda. I had a nasty divorce with Pepsi and Coke. It was very hard for me. It was very hard for me. But I began to wing myself off. I started getting the small little cans, the small little bottles, to do that. I would started off my journey with saying I will only go into McDonald's maybe once per week. But when I went, I was very conscious about with it. So just smalling off with those small goals, and not just going really big and just saying, "Oh, this week I'm just going to just eat all healthy and all green." Because sometimes by Friday or by Wednesday, you're like, this is out the window.
I appreciate that. Doing things in increments, and it doesn't have to be all in. It doesn't all have to be cold turkey. I'm going health conscious, cold turkey.
Mhm.
Some of the comments that are coming in. Barb says yes, having someone to keep you accountable. Tamika says make the time. Yes. Stephanie says swimming keeps me sane. It's my therapy. Tamika said, I look at how my plants look when they don't get enough water, falling over. She said, I think my body is that same way when I don't get enough water. That's a good point. When you look
It
at your
is.
at the other living things like plants, and they don't do well without water, and neither do we. I appreciate you talking about the yoga piece, because I've been debating if I was going to ask her to come back on and do
Yes.
some more yoga with us, and then promote, because y'all know that right now I'm in the process of promoting small businesses and people who are really into these places in their lives that I want to make sure that we're supporting each other in business as well as in all of our personal journeys. And so that's a good point. That was my special Shannon Hill Taylor, who came on
Yes.
2 years ago and did the segment on yoga, and I do remember you guys crying, and I was like, okay, and they were like, it was just so spiritual, and I thought that
Oh,
was.
I get it. Well, see, and you're a crier, so I don't know why you were crying with us. But me and
I
Kenny, we
wasn't
was
crying. I was like,
me
first
and
of all,
Kenny, we were.
Shannon is the person in my life. Whenever she sends me a text, I don't care what day it is, out of the blue, she'll be like, "Hey, Smash, I hope you're having a really great week, and I pray that God's blessings are flowing on you. And are you drinking enough water?" She is, and I tell her I get mine through coffee. I know that's not the truth, and I'm not going to promote that erroneous facts. You're not getting water; you're getting caffeine through coffee.
But but that is the one thing that I will say that I've been learning, is that to be healthy, you have to be mentally in that right space when you're well. And so whatever that is for you, whether it's meditating, in prayer, yoga, you have to be in that space and to have that willpower.
Yeah,
To know that when it does get hard, because eating and living on a healthy lifestyle, it is very hard. It is very hard, especially during this winter time where we're snowed in and we really want to watch Netflix. We want to eat pizza or the bad food. And I mean, anybody in the chat probably understands that last week, how many people went to the store and just bought all kinds of just junk because we knew that we were going to be snowed in. And so we knew that we wanted that comfort food. And so it's very hard to think about eating healthy during that time. So really having that time where you are focused and you are centered, and meditating, that is very important of how you start and how you end your day.
okay. I like that. How you start your day and how you end your day. Most folks know I start my day with prayer, and I usually close out my day with prayer as well. So for me, that some folks call it meditation, I call it prayer, because I'm not like thinking about the sun, the moon, the stars. I'm thinking about God. So I'm really, really clear about. For me, that's what it is. Um, to me, Barb says eating healthy, watching sports is hard. It is, because y'all know the real food for sports, like Sunday. Nobody's sitting around going, I just can't wait to get to cook my broccoli to watch the Super Bowl. We all sitting around like, am I gonna get wings or nachos or both?
But
Because
but it's all about, so at those times where you make the healthier choices. So you can go to, if you're living here in Columbus or any pizzeria, they have cauliflower wings. So you're not see see we have to change our mindset of how we celebrate with friends and family. So that may be the cauliflower wings and maybe the cauliflower pizza that you're doing, and you're really eating more salad so that you're not craving that Super Bowl food. I know my father has called me, and he's asked me what am I going to bring, and I don't think I've had the discussion with him probably before right now that I just don't eat, that way. I'm trying to eat better. So he's a Pepsi and a steak and potatoes type of man, and I probably will be there eating my cauliflower wings or a nice salad with it, because again, now there's our time that you're able to splurge, and it's all about having that balance of when you wake up that next day, being focused. How are you ever doing prayer? And you said, today is a new day. I'm getting right back onto this journey.
okay, so recognizing that it doesn't have to be fanaticism. It can be I'm on this journey, and some days. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Felicia told us everybody should have a cheat day. She said not a cheat week, but a cheat
Yep.
day when you give yourself permission to do that. And I also am a person who believes that most things should be done in moderation. Because I think you can go to
Yes.
the extreme on the other end as well. When you start to deprive yourself, your body starts to crave things, and then it rebels. So for me, I
Hmm.
think that moderation um, is important. My next question, Brandon, is, and so just so everybody knows, Brandon is not allowed to talk about COVID tonight.
I'm not allowed to talk about COVID
So I'm
at
going to ask this
all.
question. Other than COVID, what are some signs that we have a health crisis in our community? Because even before COVID hit, we had a health crisis in our community. What diseases are prevalent?
So, so this is Black History Month, and so being in Black History, we definitely have been having to focus in on the health disparities that we often experience. So, statistics that came out in 2000 and 2021 said that the life expectancy at birth for an African American male is 68. The life expectancy for an African American woman is 76, compared to our counterparts that are going from about 80 years for women and white, and about 75 at the age of 75 for women. And so when we look at these higher disparities of stroke, and so one of the things is there's just high rates of stroke. And so when we talk about eating, there's other factors that contributes to stroke and heart disease. People don't really know that if you have sleep apnea, that really weakens your heart and puts you at a higher risk for that. And so making sure that if you're snoring, or if you have somebody in your life that's snoring, that that is something very serious that you need to see a sleep doctor about, because you could pass away in your sleep and can be the most healthiest person in the world. But there's other factors that contribute to that as well. We're looking at that rates of diabetes, that individuals, that African Americans are 9 times more to get diabetes, and 2 times more to get any type of leg, foot, limb amputated. So we have these prevalent issues that's within our community, and infant mortality. And Tanika, I know that you're on the call, so you know I could not speak, be on the call and talk about health and infant mortality, because historically we have been trained, or the medical profession has been trained, not to listen to our African American women that says that they have a higher pain tolerance. And so when they're going to the doctor when they're pregnancy and experiencing complications, the doctors don't listen. So those are some of the health disparities that, in speaking as an African American, that we are really fighting against. And so the key to that is to really to learn how to do early disease intervention. So that means that if we having a talk, me and T, and we having a conversation, and we didn't talked about people in our families that's had high blood pressure and has had high strokes, and we sitting at Roosters having some chicken wings, that may not be the proper thing that we may not that we should have, or we need to really have those conversations of how do we really have communication with our doctors about our family history, if we know our family history, of how that we want to do disease intervention and early disease intervention, knowing the markers that when your doctor says that you're pre-diabetic, that is a time that where you have the chance to reverse a lot of things that are going on, because once diabetes hits, it is an inflammatory disease that makes everything in your body. It affects every portion of your bodies, your eyes, hypertension, and especially if you're a person of color, it really has you have a higher risk of hypertension and stroke. So
Yeah.
really listen to doctors when they said that hypertensive, heart disease, any links of cancer for that. I love when women at a very early age, they get tested for cancer because someone in their family has been has had cancer. My sister, no one in our immediate family has had breast cancer, but she was very consistent with her mammograms, and was diagnosed with stage 0 breast cancer. But the testimony from that, I told her, was that the mammogram, it worked. It did what it was supposed to do. So really having early disease intervention, and if you are living with any of those chronic disease, managing it and managing it well. And so that is keeping in care with your doctor. Um, Most health insurances have health coaches. Health insurances love that you are talking to coaches, because you're not as much of a liability to them. But really talking to those health coaches. It's nothing wrong with having a dietitian. You may say, I don't need a dietitian, but sometimes that dietitian may talk to you about what is the correct things that you should eat for your chronic disease or for your body as well.
Okay. So I'm reading some of the comments. Barb says knowing your family history is really key. Dr. Cynthia says yes, and the comorbidities are what takes us out.
It does. And so comorbidities is a high case of that other infection that I cannot mix on on this call. But yeah, it really did take a lot of our friends out for those comorbidities.
So the comorbidities, and the reason I told Brandon he couldn't come on and talk about, he wanted to originally come on and talk about COVID. I said we're COVID out. We hear this every single day on the news. I need to talk about other things that's happening in our health communities because we're going to be stuck with this for a while to come. But I do think that we can make the point that the underlying conditions, when they kept talking about if you have underlying conditions, it makes COVID worse for us. If you have diabetes, if you have upper respiratory issues, or any of those kinds of things, cancer, any of those things, and COVID on top of that were a large reason why we lost a lot of people to cancer in places where other people did not. And when they say, "Oh, young people aren't as sick as other people," they are if they have some pre-existing conditions in addition to COVID. And so I just wanted to say that, but I did say that I didn't want to spend our whole time talking about COVID, not because it's important, but what I don't want to do is spend so much time on that we don't talk about the fact that our community, women, people of color, um, low income white people are not right now having healthy lives. And so when we talk about this notion of prioritizing health and wellness, I wanted to make sure that we covered other stuff other than just COVID. So Brandon, you gave me a couple strategies. You talked about walking earlier, but give me three small short-term strategies that we can implement that will have long-term impact on our health outcomes.
Alrighty. So one thing is improving your sleep. And so recognizing that sleep should be anywhere for the minimum of 6 to 8 hours. And it's the minimum to 6 to 8 hours. How do we improve our sleep? We start turning down our bodies. Today I had a picture of a kid. And so anyone who has raised kids on this call know that we always put a kid down into the routine of a certain time. We might have forgot about that as an adult. And so hitting that routine of when we hit that do not disturb not watching the 11 o'clock news, turning off Facebook, really setting the mood. And so that means the temperature, the right mattress in your room. I utilize a humidifier because anybody who has issues with sleeping, the humidifier adds moisture to the room so that it allows for you to open up. Really going to a sleep doctor if you know that you're snoring, and making sure how is that. And so there are so many different other ways than a sleep pat machine that we are now seeing that they're using to help people to sleep better. So really to improve your sleep. The reason why I said improving your sleep because that is the time that your body has to heal, and it's the time for the cortisol in your body to go down. That is essential for overall health and wellness. So improving your sleep, setting the mood, telling people do not call you after a certain time, turning off your telephone, not looking at emails, watch what you are intaking before you go to sleep because sometimes it follows you in your dreams. So that means that really about an hour before you go into sleep, do not or not watching TV or on Facebook. Stopping caffeine about 3 o'clock during the day. Um, the butter pecan ice cream and sugary stuff late at night, no, that kind of affects your sleep. And not eating starchy foods and stop eating at a certain time. So really improving your sleep. The other thing is your overall mental health and wellness. So we talked about meditation, making sure that we are centered in the morning, and then we're centered at night. That quiet time that we are talking to whomever we subscribe to, the universe, to God, whomever we're doing, making sure that we are in a centered place. Taking those times throughout the day that when you feel yourself getting stressed, that means that cortisol is going up again. And when that cortisol goes up, we know that it affects our heart and our immune system and makes it weak. So really taking those times to stop, breathe, center yourself, step away, and then also having a good mental health practitioner. And a good mental health practitioner that you have on call. is always good because it's very hard and stressful to find a mental health practitioner when you're in crisis. But if you're always in contact with one, meaning that that frequency that you and them may decide what that may be, it may be for some people once a month, it may be twice a year, but for whenever you are in crisis mode, you have that person that's on dial that says, "Hey, I'm experiencing crisis. I need to get in. I need to talk to you." That's better than having to go to the doc find and having to call T and ask, who's somebody that's good. Because finding a good mental health practitioner really is very hard to find someone that is vibing with you and have that unbiased opinion, but also gives you that truth that you really need to hear. So those are two things: eating better. And so really incorporating more leafy vegetables, and reducing those starches and those sugars, and reducing those saturated fats. And so that means the fried foods. And so that's an easy thing to really just start off on the Sunday or Monday and say, this week am going to try not to eat the fried foods. I'm really just going to do that. Those are just small things that you can do. I'm going to treat to eat more salads and more fruits and more vegetables. And learning how to read the labels that has those hidden sugars on there, because sometimes where it says sugar free, and on there is truly not. And so that's doing a lot of educating and researching yourself.
I love it. I asked you for 3 points. You told us do better with our sleeping, get better sleep for all these other health reasons. I appreciated you talking about snoring. You talked about all those things. Shauna was on and she said snoring put me up on game. And he did. He talked about how it's a sign of sleep. First of all, snoring is a sign of sleep apnea. And sleep apnea can cause heart disease. It can kill us, y'all. I learned that from my doctor when I was going through the sleep test. And I didn't understand why it was a big deal that I snored and I had sleep apnea. And before I lost all the weight, I literally I was morbidly obese, like, and had congenital heart failure. And so I'm really, really clear about what that whole sleeping piece is. And so if when I find myself in a space of needing to snore, I'm like, well, I need to go get another sleep study done. Some of the comments, Brendan, Charlene says, sleep. I need this reminder. Barb says, the older we get, I find the more sleep I need. 3 and 4 hours, not cutting it. Melissa said, yes. Let me see. She said, good call. Don't wait until you are empty to fill your tank. Stephanie says, yes, I just invested in a great mattress and adjustable base. It has actually improved the quality of my sleep. Barb says, meal prep so you don't have to think about it. Felicia says, do you really have to eat 3 meals per day? I'm going to come back to that. Lisa Capers says, this is good. So, Brandon, answer that question for Felicia. By the way, Felicia, hey, girl. Hey, girl. Hey, Felicia's one of my high school homegirls. She's a part of the senior buddies from high school. So, we go way back. She asked the question, do you really have to eat 3 meals a day?
And so, a lot of times, individuals will say this, that if you research and you see everyone is on this intermittent fasting kick, and let me say this, let me preference this: check with your medical professional, because there may be some medicines or conditions that you're on where they want you to eat on a regular basis. One being diabetes. They want that insulin to be regulated. But if you are trying things, and we're going to say intermittent fasting for one thing there, a lot of times people only eat maybe once and or twice a day. Because they know how their body is. You see, I had this big old gallon of water. And so right now, as it stands, after we get off, I'm done. I'll be done eating for the day, but I'm not hungry, because I've had, a good lunch and a good, well balanced lunch where I felt myself with good lean protein, and I had water for the rest of the day, so I'm not as hungry. And so that reduced that snacking there. But if you are on insulin dependent, diabetic, on some medicine that you have to eat with that, by all means, yes, follow the recommendations of your doctor. So
I
not
appreciate
always.
that. Always, y'all. This is the information. We're just trying to give you some clues, but you should always, first of all, you should have a primary care physician. You ought to have
Yes.
somebody who knows you, who knows your health, who knows when something is awry. I am a huge proponent of primary care doctors. And by the way, I see a nurse practitioner. I don't see a physician. I see a family nurse practitioner. But whatever you do, you should be seeing someone on a regular basis who knows your health, because that it's as important as any of the other things. You take your car, when you get a nice car, When you buy Acura, you don't take it to the Valvoline place no more. You take it to Acura because they know your car. Go to a doctor who knows your health. Um,
And see, one
but
thing I want to make sure that we are while we hit on primary care physicians is that when you're finding the primary care physicians, and I oftentimes speak to providers, make sure that your doctor understands how your health falls into play into your whole life. How that when they're saying that as making it a priority for you, and when they're asking you to eat better, to live better, that they understand that sometimes that you're a mom, and that you have a certain things, and so that they understand that they can really work with you around setting those goals. My doctor really has a good conversation that says, so what are the goals that we're going to do for our next visit that you're saying that you can do? And so whether that's eating healthy and exercising more, but my doctor understands that from this that I'm a busy person, I'm on the go. Always. If you had certain different cultures and different beliefs, your doctor is very important for you to understand that sometimes that food is the way that you celebrate family. If I'm Italian, pasta making with the family is what we do. If I'm in the Somali culture, we definitely have food that we are bringing together. So your doctor should understand your cultures and your beliefs, everything that you bring to the table, so that you can be a healthier person. We call that cultural humility, where provider is adopting the ideology of really learning their patient, where they're taking the stance as a student, and you as a patient becomes the teacher.
so we have a question. That came in and she said she know you talked about it earlier, but she came on at the end of it, and we also talked about it last week, but I still think that it's crucially important because you said three things you told us was get some sleep, find a good mental health professional, and eat more leafy greens. So the question that's in the chat is, what are some of the things we should look for when looking for a good mental health professional?
Someone who is just like I said, now someone who really understands you as an individual, and that may come in one, two, three sessions, that we are that account that a mental health professional is willing to go down, is willing to get to know you. But one of the things, and I just had this conversation with someone, is that you as the patient have to be willing and open to know whatever comes out of this session, and whatever they're pulling out from you, and you have to be able to willing to accept that, or willing to take a look at yourself and say, because a good mental health professional is listening, and listening for things, patterns, to really to help you. And so while you as a patient should be doing the majority of the talking, the mental health professional should spend the latter part of the time really summarizing and giving professional advice as to what you should do to move on. So um,
I want I
really
want
fun.
I want to jump in because last week when we talked about mental health with the therapist who was on, one of the things she talked about was the essentiality of interviewing the person that you are thinking about. The other thing I would encourage you to do is if you Google folks and folks have had some stuff out there against them, it'll come up. Um,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I watch people's pages. If your page is grimy and you say stuff that, even though you don't identify a client, you say stuff about what you talk about with your clients, I always turn my head because I wonder what you're saying in other places. I think that
Mhm.
that the mental health space is sacred because if you get that wrong, just like the physical health, it could kill people when you get it
Mhm.
wrong. So for me, find a person that has a good reputation. I found mine through somebody referred me to mine. I did not know her. That was important to me. I didn't want to go to somebody I knew, but also taking the time to interview them and seeing if it's a right fit. It may not be a right fit. If you go to a couple sessions and it's not a right fit, don't stand on ceremony. Say, this isn't working. I think I'm going to see if I can find someone else because I was looking for something more along this line. So those are some of the tips that they gave last week, but I do think that that's important. Um, Melissa says she loves that. It is so important to find a listener and critical thinker to respond to the different needs. Um, I am appreciating the fact that people are finding this really helpful, Brandon, because I don't think that we spend enough time talking about. We talk about mental health, we talk about physical health, but talking about our overall wellness and why we need to be looking at it. What advice can you give that will help us help loved ones who need to prioritize their health? How do we engage loved ones in the crucial conversations about their health?
Ooh, so that can be very hard. So I'm going to take a page out of T's book. I met her some years ago, and so one of the things that I've always learned, and it's very hard for me, as I'm thinking about this now, as I'm going through personal something with someone that is going through this. It is coming from a place of love and non-judgment, and in letting them know what your true intention is, and practicing it, love, and saying, "I love you, and this is the reason why I want you to be helpful," but also offering, "How can I help you to get there?" Always leaving your hand of, how can I help you? Is it that you need a ride to the doctor? Do you need for me to go to the doctor? We oftentimes have in other cultures that people who go to the doctors, with people, community health workers, emotional support, we often sometimes have to be that way for our family. I grew up in a family that, if grandma, big mama, auntie went to the doctor and they were elderly, there was somebody else in the room with them to really to understand in that. And that was to understand what the doctor was saying, and to go through that support and that accountability that they would have when they would go home. And so that means that if, grandma went to the doctor, everybody who came to grandma's house, don't bring her no church's chicken. Don't bring her no sisters. And if you're in Columbus, if you remember sisters, I don't care what she says, because that was the accountability that everybody had in their family. So helping them to be accountable and letting them know that it's not from there, from a judgment, and not being somewhere where we're out to dinner and say, "Girl, you supposed to be drinking that Pepsi," and you're in front of the whole family. So now you ruined the whole relationship of it. So knowing the proper place at the time to have these conversations, but come from a good place and come from a place of love and that you truly care, especially when we're talking about family members and we know our family history, and that we know how it affects everybody and the things that we could combat. I have high blood pressure and diabetes in my family. I have a sister that was just diagnosed with kidney disease. And so before we had Christmas, she had a real conversation about us taking care of herself because she didn't listen to her body and the signs. And so that was a real conversation that we had. While everybody else had the greasy food, I was the bougie person that had the salmon and the broccoli, because I wanted to take care of myself. So, but I will say, come from a place of love, and knowing when the right time to have it, and supporting everyone.
I saw Lady Overflow, Anita Dawson. She said, "Love and not judgment is fire." Taja says she's talking about the mental health piece. She said it is recommended to try a couple mental health professionals before committing to someone. She said she finds it hard to find someone who fits for her. She's big on going to someone who is not included in her circle, like me, of people that she knows. And she said, "Should I base it on a spiritual base or more logical base? This talk is amazing and well needed." I would say, Taja, it depends on who you are. I
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that my therapist is also a believer, because there's some things that I want to tackle, and we can talk about it in the pragmatic sphere, but we also can talk about it in the spiritual sphere, which is super important to me. I think that that's one of those things that you have to ferret out when you're out there searching um, for who you're going to see. I
See,
love that. Hang on
see,
for
and
a
I will.
second.
Oh, go ahead.
Hang on 1 second. I want to get Stephanie's stuff in here. Stephanie, who is a therapist, who, by the way, I do recommend. I can't go to her because she's my girl, she's my car therapist. But she says, check Psychology Today. You can choose what you want in a therapist. For example, age, race, gender, area of specialty. I mean, because if you're dealing with some specific issues, you can ferret that out, and people, you can use a filter, and they will help you find folks that way. But like I told you, Psychology Today couldn't help me was when somebody that I trusted said, "Hey, do you know this person?" I said, "No." They said, "I think she's somebody you might like." I said, "Do you see her?" She's like, "No, I don't, but I know her really, really well, and I think that you would appreciate her." So those are all really, really great comments. I'm sorry, Brandon, go.
No, I was agreeing with you, that the spirituality piece was very important for me in my therapist that I've been seeing probably since for some years now. And one thing that I really appreciate that she does is that she prays at the end of our session. And no matter how much I may be boohoo crying, you will oftentimes see on my my Facebook page. And I don't do this to be funny, but I say, "Woo, my therapy section was so good." It's no different from me saying that my pedicure or my massage was very good. That mental part of my mind, it was really good because I would go in with probably list of things that I was thinking about talking about, and she would be like, "No, no, no, no." She was like, let's, this is what you keep talking about. But her being a believer and knowing how spirituality plays a role in my life, she knows my values, and I understand that when she brings it back to me, and so it was very, very important for me as well.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. One of the things, by the way, if you're trying to win one of my prizes, I'm about to do them in a few minutes. I've got three amazing gifts from two business owners in Columbus. I want to promote people's businesses, and so I'm going to do some giveaways. Last week, my girl Carla Porter won tickets to the Escape concert that's happening this weekend. She won tickets to that. I've got some other gifts. If you want to, I put it in the chat both on YouTube, but also on Facebook. There's a link. It's a jot form. If you'll go on there and drop your information in at the end, I will ask my agent to send me three names. She will text me. I'm not on that site, so I don't know who's dropping in. But if you want to get in on the prizes and walk away with some amazing stuff tonight, and most people know I'm really into supporting businesses. Next week, I'm going to be supporting a business. We're going to do like a date in a box kind of gift next week. So just be tuning in. All this month, I'm going to be promoting businesses and doing giveaways on the show. So Brandon, what's one question that I did not ask you that you wish I had asked you?
Mm. I was waiting for the surprise question, T, because you always throw a curveball question, so I was ready. I don't know. What did you not ask me? I think I think I already answered it. The reason why I started my health journey. And I started my health journey because I'm at the age of 40. Um, I went to the doctor. I've been a diabetic since I've been 2015. And I've been a yo-yo diabetic. But then I witnessed a friend that is not much young older than me get amputated. Get Then I watched him go through COVID, and very scary because I can only, text, being there. And then I really realized what diabetes, how it plays into everything in my life. And so it hit me today when I went to the eye doctor. Eye doctor is like, your eyes are good, and that is good for a diabetic because I don't want to wake up one day and to be blind or have vision problems. But I realized that as a person who is very outgoing and who loves to pour into people's lives, that I had to pour into my own life. And so I couldn't do that with being lethargic and not having probably 10 great nieces and nephews that adore me. And, when they want to play and I'm all out of breath and I'm still the youngest out of all of them, the young, as they call me, Gunkle. I wanted to live a lot. I wanted to live life and to live better. And hopefully, this platform will help me to be accountable so that after next week, when I go to the doctor and I'm claiming a good report, that I don't think that I can go to Charleston, South Carolina the next week and eat all the fried food that I want. I'm going to go back to my old ways. And so it's really adopting a whole new attitude for me.
Barb asked the question. She says, "How do we break the generational curse for our youth to help not recreate the health history?"
Mm. It's all about how we start with training them and how training them to making their health priority. And so when I talked about really having those balanced meals, and so knowing that as a parent, that if you have to take them to track, football, cheerleading, ballet, but before we get there, we're going to always go to the McDonald's or the Burger King, but really having those meal preps that we have so that you're saying, no, you're going to sit down and eat a good, healthy meal. And that is the way of I look at people when you are training your children to eat well and to have healthy things. You're doing healthy things with them. You're doing active things with them. Um, Kids will now will they will begin to understand that when you look at the way that kids eat and T, you probably can attest to that. We have sometimes kids I used to work with when I was a teacher that used to come in eating flaming hot Cheetos, pickles, and red Fago at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it just wasn't there, and that's what they had at home. And so we have to begin to be able to teach our children we're prioritizing our health, and as adults we have to be that example for them.
One of the things I appreciate is we talk about this in a lot of the programs that, like when Franklin County Job and Family Services funds you, they talk about the kinds of snacks that they want you serving kids, the kinds of, if you're doing the meal in the summer program, what should the lunch look like, and that it should be healthy so that we start to break the cycle and we don't start kids out who have juvenile diabetes, and we don't start kids out early with all the same health risks that many of us were exposed to, and that we start, if you're going to take them to their track practice, have a healthy snack before you go. Not Cheetos. Have cheese because it has protein, but it's also a little healthier. Put some peanut butter on some celery because it's a healthier snack that also has protein, so that your body has something to burn when you're going to run track. I'm reading some of the comments. Brandon, Charity says, "Poor be poor." You're going to appreciate this one. Charlene Green says, Dr. Howard would be so proud of you, Brandon. Don't you start crying because I'm going to slap you if you do. Um, Cynthia says, great discussion. Glad to be present. That's Cynthia Ball. Charity says, balance. Dr. Cynthia says, children watch what we do more than what we say. Telling them what to eat while we are eating junk cancels out everything. Walk the talk. Katina says, this is so true. Thank you for reinforcing healthy eating habits. Sleep and diet are critical. Yep, they talked about that. To my son's mental health. It's crucial to your mental health.
Hmm.
When one or both are off, his depression spikes. So when you're talking about young people, you've got to put these things in place for their mental health as well. The physical, making sure they're getting sleep, making sure their diets are good, because it does play into how some of the things like ADHD shows up. For years, in the earlier days, I didn't medicate my son. When he first went to school, he wasn't on meds because we did it through diet. We did a healthy diet that didn't have all the starch and all the sugars and all those things in it, because I needed him to have a fresh, clean body going to school without all the meds. And so there's lots of things that we can do. I so appreciate this health conversation tonight. People are really appreciating this. If you all have a topic idea that you want me to discuss, I would really love to have you all send me some topics. Put it on my Facebook page. Send it to my agent at Amazing Tei Street at Gmail. That's how we're getting topics. People are reaching out. Brandon reached out to me and said, I'd love to come on and talk about prioritizing health and wellness. And I said, I'd love to have you come on. People said to me they wanted to talk about spiritual health and physical health and emotional health. And so that's why I've had the guests on that I've had. If you've got some topical ideas, I would really love to hear from you. And I'm going to be doing some more fun stuff. Everything's not going to be about health. Most people who know me know that I love the arts. I'm going to be bringing folks on in the coming weeks to talk about some of the amazing things that's happening in the arts in Columbus and around. But if you've got a topic that is uplifting, please, please, please reach out to me. And if you have guests that you can recommend for those topics, I'm open to hearing who you all know as well. Brandon, I got to tell you, many years ago, Brandon came into my life. It says, Brandon, where can I follow you? By the way, love your wall. That was, of course, Adele saying she loves your red wall. So this Dr. Amy, who was on a few weeks ago talking about our spiritual health, she said this was some good stuff. Thanks, Dr. Brandon. Look at you being late. Um, Dr. Jean T. Harris says this is good. All too often, those of us in the service professions do little to take care of ourselves, busy taking care of everyone else. I want to say this. Years ago, people always ask me, how did you meet Brandon? Because everybody in the city knows that you're Brandon's mentor. Brandon is the person who, if he wants something, he's not going to let you get away. Brandon used to come, his best friend was my next door neighbor for 11 years. He used to come in the backyard and he would prophesy and tell me that I was going to mentor him. I'm like, I'm not mentoring him. He would ask me questions, and I would always say, he would always ask me these political questions. And my favorite phrase for Brandon, he found it to be true still today, is what, Brandon?
Follow the money.
You want to know what's going to happen? Follow the money. And so he started ascribing to that. So over the years, Brandon, I just want to say this to you. Watching you grow, taking, because people don't understand when you ask people to mentor you, it's not just about giving you connections. It's also about giving you the kind of feedback out of love that will grow you. And so Brandon and I have had some really tough conversations over the years, and I appreciate he's always open and he's always receptive when he thinks that it's legitimate. Now, if he don't think it's legitimate, he'll push back. But Brandon, tonight, listening to you as the expert in this area, my heart is overwhelmed. I'm so proud of the man that you are. I love how you love on this community. My COVID I'm one of the few people that didn't have COVID because Brandon gave me really good information out the box. Here's what you're not going to do. You know, I just so appreciate the way that you love on this community. Carla says sound, practical insight and advice. People want things that they can see, feel, and do, not all this theoretical stuff. And that's what we're trying to do. Barb says, awesome. I've only known him a few years. He's a wonderful young man. Felicia says, thank you, Brandon. Many blessings. Stephanie said, amen. So we're going to do a prize giveaway. If you have not gone on, I put it in the chat, y'all. I put it in the chat. Yes, we do need a cooking and a convo one. Felicia is going to come on at the end of the month to do meal prep because she promised that she's going to come back once a month. Last month, people asked, and she said, I'll come back on next month and do meal prep because Brandon talked about that earlier as well. I'm going to do a prize. If you've not gone on yet, it's in the chat. The link is in the chat. It says jot form. Go in there, drop it in. I think my first prize is probably going to be this. I just texted George and asked her to send me, her name's Georgina, and asked her to send me a name. Let me see what she texted me back. I'm so excited. These are so much fun for me. Y'all have no idea. These are super, super fun for me to be able to support businesses and at the same time give you guys some treats for coming on and following the amazing Tei Street. Oh, shoot. I'm going to do this one first. So this one, I posted it earlier. It has 3 chocolate covered strawberries, and I mean these berries are big berries. It has a chocolate bomb in it, a hot chocolate bomb, and it has 2 beautiful that look like lips. I don't want to tip the box too much, but it has these little lips on it, and they're chocolate covered Oreos. So I'm going to do that box first, and I'm waiting to see what name I get. What name are you sending me? Who gets that one? The name is Dr. Cynthia Tyson. Hey, Doc, you got that first box. Yay. Now, the next gift up is this beautiful, y'all. I love this one. Hang on. This one right here is like giving me like all the good feels. It's a V for Valentine's Day. And it's white chocolate covered strawberries. It's got some dark chocolate strawberries as well. It's beautiful. And it has the letters on it that says love you. And at the bottom is a chocolate covered right down here is with the lips. That's the chocolate covered. Yeah, I know, Brandon, in the midst of all this healthiness, but it's a
I
strawberry.
know it's strawberry. Chocolate is an antioxidant. Yeah.
It is. It's an antioxidant. Yeah, and inside is a strawberry, so you can have it, and that's one of your fruits. But anyway, this particular one is, and the one I just did for the the box that Dr. Cynthia won. It's by Jay Cherie's Sweet Treats. I'm gonna hold up the card. I'm gonna give you the information. I'll put it in the chat as well. By Jada Turner. If you are interested, she does like all those little AKA pretzels that all the little AKAs got when they cross, and those little packs that had the cute little AKAs on pretzels and candy and cookies and all that stuff. That was Jay Cherie's Sweet Treats. I just want to make sure that I pop her business. She does hot chocolate bomb. She does some of everything. Isn't that beautiful? This is a Valentine's gift. Let me see who's going to get this gift. Let me see what name just popped up for me. The name that just popped up is Stephanie Starks. So Stephanie, I done talked you up in all these situations. So there you go. You just won that. Yay, Stephanie won the V. Now, my last gift, the designer is actually on tonight. Her business is launching tonight, y'all. It's called Unique Naturally Made. Her website is www shop. Somebody put this in the chat for me because I'm reading. Somebody put this in www shop uniquenaturallymade.com. www shop uniquenaturallymade.com. Let me see who's going to get this. Let me show you what it is first. It's a whole package of things, y'all. It is a coffee mug. And by the way, it's coming in a red bag. She put the whole package together. This is the little red bag she had it in. And inside the coffee mug, she put, since it's Valentine's Day, I want to show you the coffee mug. I love folks who go to the trouble of making things nice. It says, love plus me equals self-love, self-care, self-commitment, self-evaluation, and loving me. That's the coffee mug. She also put in a box of chocolates for you for it that says Happy Valentine's Day. So y'all see, she put it all together. And finally, the last part of her gift tonight is this beautiful shirt that says, can you all see it? It says, I am enough. And it's a heart shape, as you can see, for Valentine's Day. And on the sleeve, it says, being, let me show you the sleeve. That's hot. Being whole, being at peace, loving me. Y'all know that's hot.
I love
That's hot
that.
to death. I love this shirt right here. Let me see who's getting this shirt. Let me see what name just popped up. I just got the name for it. The name that just popped up is Cynthia Ball.
Yeah.
Hey, Cynthia. Cynthia used to be one of our principals in Columbus City Schools. She's still working for Columbus because y'all know good folks never retire. They just come back around and give it to kids in a different format. So those are our winners tonight. We had, so now I got to get with y'all, Stephanie Starks, Dr. Cynthia and Cynthia Ball. You all are the winners for tonight. We will have a nice prize on next week. Brendan, thank you so much. Everybody who tuned in tonight, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tamika just put in the chat. She said we can take pre-orders at uniquenaturallymade@gmail.com, and she will contact you to get those orders if you want that shirt. I'm mad because I'm giving the shirt away. So I'm gonna need to go ahead and purchase me one of those shirts that says I am enough, and on the sleeves that whole being whole piece is important. Brandon,
Oh,
thank you so much for all of the
thank you.
really, really good information you gave us tonight. You filled many, many cups tonight. Everybody who came on, I don't take it lightly that you give up time on a Wednesday night that you could be anyplace else. Some of you could pop in after Bible study, whatever you're doing. I appreciate the fact that you are dedicated to following this. Can you do me a favor tonight? I've never asked this before. Well, in this year, I used to ask all the time. If you have not gone onto my YouTube page, can you go on Amazing T Street and just subscribe? It costs you nothing to subscribe, but for vendors, it means everything. If you'll go on and just subscribe to my page, I would really appreciate that. I bring you good information. All I'm asking in return, go and like it and subscribe on my YouTube page. You don't get anything. I'm not going to send you spam notes. I'm not doing any of that stuff. Just go on and please subscribe to my YouTube page, which is Amazing T Street. I'm going to close tonight like I always do, and I'm going to say, that I'm the Amazing T Street. And by tonight, by the way, I had my amazing mentee, Brandon Chapman, tonight, public health. You have certainly earned tonight, public health expert, Brandon Chapman. I'm the Amazing T Street, but I can assure you there is absolutely positively nothing amazing in me that's not in each and every one of you. I charge and challenge you to go and prioritize your health and your wellness because our community needs each one of us. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.